The God of War series is renowned for its epic openings, with each installment striving to outdo the last. Today, in the first episode of Who Wins the Opening Level race, I put God of War 2 and 3 head to head to see which truly reigns supreme in this area. God of War 2 starts with Kratos' brutal assault on Rhodes. The gods are furious with him for this, but Kratos, not needing their approval, marches on the city himself to deliver the final blow. Athena and Zeus try to stop him by giving life to the Colossus of Rhodes' statue and shrinking Kratos' godly size. This is where we take control of Kratos. On the other hand, God of War 3 picks up right after the ending of God of War 2. As Kratos and the Titans climb Mount Olympus to destroy Zeus, a cool cutscene showcases the gods, the camera then rails down to Gaia's arm and we take control of Kratos.
Zeus! Your son has returned. I bring the destruction of Olympus!
The Titans will fail again.
Both games let us try out all these special moves for a blaze of chaos and a magic attack right away, which gives us a taste of how fighting works in these games. The first enemies we fight are generally weak, so we can learn the ropes. After finishing the first fight, the lift gates mechanic gets introduced. The next fight is optional, so we can skip it in both games to reach the first boss fight. In God of War 2, the Colossus fight requires us to dodge its attacks and hit its hand while simultaneously fighting off soldiers. Once stunned, we use a ballista to reach our first QTE. All buttons for the first QTE are squares in both games. Kratos then blinds one of the Colossus' eyes. The enraged Colossus throws us to a new location, the bathhouse. In God of War 3, we fight Poseidon's monstrous steed, the Hippocampi, serving as mini-boss before the battle against Poseidon himself. This encounter introduces a variety of engaging mechanics. The battle begins with us awaiting the Hippocampi attacks while striking it. It then transitions into a sequence of hanging ceiling combat followed by a vertical phase of wall combat atop Gaia's hands. The game cleverly integrates these mechanics into this dynamic fight. After tearing off the monster's lower jaw in a brutal QTE, we're flung onto the mountain. Back to God of War 2, we're introduced to both swimming and grappling mechanics. After the Colossus fails to crush Kratos with his foot, we encounter the wall climb mechanic for the first time here. This leads to the next phase of the Colossus fight, which is more engaging this time around. Similar to the first encounter with the Colossus, this fight also involves dodging and striking its hands, just a tad longer. There's a grappling point in the middle of the arena to escape if it throws an unblockable attack at us. Once we manage to draw those two beautiful X's on its face after two exciting QTEs, the Colossus throws us to a new area again. While God of War 2 introduces new mechanics after the first boss fight similar to that approach, God of War 3 introduces ledge climbing and grapple mechanics as we explore further. Witnessing the epic battle between gods and titans in the background sets the atmosphere. After some small fights, we see Hippocampi attack Gaia, blocking the path. Using Icarus wings, we overcome the gap. This way leads us to the Tomb of Ares. Here, we encounter a new enemy type, Centaur. After this fight, we pull the lever on the left and then climb the ladder on the right to reach a platform to cross the gap. And after taking a moment to save our game, we will face our second fight with the Hippocampi. The second phase ditches the platforming mechanics and focuses heavily on dodging and blocking. Once we stun the creature, a QTE triggers, allowing us to cut off one of its claws. This severed claw then becomes crucial in the following QTE, where we will use it to finish off the beast. Continuing in God of War 2, we encounter a short puzzle that introduces the mechanic of moving and kicking objects. We reach an elevator after battling some enemies. Reaching the top, we see the Colossus peering through the window. After striking its eye, the tower crashes down, triggering a cutscene where Zeus offers Kratos the Blade of Olympus, urging him to infuse his godly power into it to finally beat the Colossus. Ledge climbing is introduced here. To climb this wall, and after a short fight we come to ledge walking for the first time. As we traverse, archers positioned below will try to knock us off. After defeating them, we reach a safe point before descending chains to the third and final Colossus fight. Same strategy here, dodge attacks, hit hands. Once we stun the colossal beast, the window opens for us to channel our power into the blade. After repeating this process 3 times, the Blade of Olympus will be ready to wield. Using the Blade of Olympus, we tear a hole into the Colossus's belly, granting us access to its insides. Here, our mission is to disable the main support structure holding the Colossus together. This area is filled with platforming challenges that test all the skills we have learned so far. We'll also encounter some small fights and a puzzle that requires us to block Colossus's I-beam with a swinging pendulum to create a safe passage. By completing these challenges and reaching the uppermost part of the Colossus, we will be able to destroy its final internal structure.
Do you see, gods of Olympus? Do you need more proof than this?
Kratos defeats the Colossus, but his victory is short-lived. As the giant crumbles, its lifeless hand falls upon Kratos, striking him down. Having used his godly powers in the Blade of Olympus, Kratos is left drained and vulnerable. Zeus, the king of the gods, arrives and takes the Blade of Olympus. While Kratos is in his weakest state, Zeus demands that he surrender and kneel before him. Kratos refuses and is defeated and killed in an unfair fight. Zeus, enraged by Kratos' defiance, destroys the Spartan army. Just as the arms of Hades arrive to claim Kratos for the underworld, Gaia saves him. After a dramatic cutscene, we will do a short climbing section to reach the surface. There we will save our progress and get ready for the grand adventure to reclaim our power, rewrite fate, and ultimately destroy Zeus. This marks the end of the opening level of God of War 2. So what about God of War 3? After defeating the Hippocampi, we climb and enter Gaia's body. Upon reaching her heart, we solve a simple puzzle. This introduces the object moving mechanic, which now includes the ability to rotate objects for more complex and creative puzzles. A short platforming section and a small fight leads us to the final boss fight with Poseidon in his ultimate form.
You challenge me, mortal? A god of Olympus? A true warrior does not hide, Poseidon! Leave the sea and face me! You have disrespected the gods for the last time, Kratos!
First, we must detach Poseidon's claws from Gaia's head. Then, the fight continues in Gaia's hand, getting closer and more intense. After opening the hatch to Poseidon's heart, the fight moves back to Gaia's head. Poseidon's attack becomes more dangerous, including more lightning bolts. In an epic sequence after the third phase of the fight, Kratos uses Gaia's hands to pull Poseidon out of his monstrous heart and throw him towards the mountain. Poseidon cannot withstand Kratos' fury and falls to the sea after a savage beating. A cutscene follows showing the rising sea levels, a direct result of slaying the god of the sea. After the cutscene, Gaia arrives, and we climb the slopes of Mount Olympus to face Zeus. Following a powerful exchange of words with Zeus, his anger explodes, and he throws a bolt of lightning that sends us crashing down from Mount Olympus. Gaia refuses to help further and ascends the mount alone to reach Zeus. Kratos falls once more, landing in the River of Styx within Hades' domain. This marks the end of the opening level of God of War 3. There's no doubt that the opening sequences of both games are top-notch and well-crafted. However, there are certainly some differences. God of War 3 introduces the mechanics at a slightly faster pace. This might make it a bit more challenging for a player experiencing God of War 3 for the first time without having played the first 2 games beforehand, in terms of quickly getting familiar with the mechanics. Both games follow a fairly similar pattern. Both have 3 phases for the initial boss fight. However, all 3 phases of the boss fight in God of War 3 are roughly the same level of difficulty, whereas the fight with the Colossus in God of War 2 is a bit easier and the difficulty gradually increases throughout the phases. The QTEs in God of War 3 are arguably a bit better and easier to follow thanks to the placement of each button's position on the screen mirroring the layout of the controller. This allows for a greater connection with the action scene. Unlike God of War 3, God of War 2 introduces various gameplay mechanics at a slower pace. You will encounter a new mechanic every few minutes, allowing us to learn and practice before utilizing it in the next fight. Depending on our playstyle, the first level in either game can take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes to complete. It's important to note that both games have roughly 50 minutes of cutscenes included in this frame time. God of War 3 utilizes in-game engine cutscenes, unlike some of the pre-rendered CG cutscenes of God of War 2. While this isn't necessarily a negative, it allows God of War 3 to seamlessly showcase the immense scale of its environments in real time. Witnessing titans in the background during gameplay adds to the epic feeling. Both games excels in terms of presentation, pacing, and level design in their opening sequences. The closest boss fight in God of War 2 is undeniably well-paced and excellently implemented. However, the Poseidon battle in God of War 3 delivers a more epic experience both visually and mechanically. The Hippocampi and Poseidon boss fight in God of War 3 are more engaging thanks to the fantastic use of gameplay mechanics. This makes the combat feel multi-dimensional and prevents it from getting boring. Sure, the Colossus fight was amazing too, but a big part of it was just attacking the Colossus's hand. Most of the action happened in cutscenes and QTEs. This isn't necessarily bad because considering the limitations of the PS2 at that time, the developers did a fantastic job creating memorable scenes and a good boss fight. The opening level in God of War 3 features a combat encounter with 2 different enemy types within the Tomb of Ares area. Compared to God of War 2's encounters with solely Rhodian soldiers, this variation adds a unique character to this fight, differentiating it from other initial encounters in the game.
This is not the end.
It's incredibly difficult to declare one of these games the clear winner in terms of the better opening level. God of War 2 introduces gameplay mechanics in a more logical way and takes its time doing it, while God of War 3 utilizes a more engaging and exciting gameplay experience through its presentation and thrilling events, leaving players eager to continue the game. Even after multiple playthroughs, both games' opening levels retain their freshness and appeal, effectively fulfilling their purpose. From a strict game design standpoint, God of War 2 arguably does a better job with its timely and gradual introduction of mechanics and narrative elements. However, God of War 3 capitalizes on its full potential to create moments that are not only visually epic and engaging, but also possesses the necessary gameplay depth to establish a superior opening level. I personally find God of War 3's opening level to be more captivating due to its exhilarating blend of action, presentation, and gameplay depth. So what is your favorite opening level and why? Share your thoughts in the comment section. And which games would you like to see compared in the next opening level race video? If you enjoyed this video and would like to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing for more content. Your engagement motivates me to continue creating. Thanks for watching.